how are we doing? Welcome back, welcome back, welcome back. So today I have an exciting video for me because one, it's October. It's October. And two, I had people telling me that they love my shirt that I was wearing in my last video, and this is another shirt that I got. It is called, it says Bookaholic, and then it just has a stack of books on it that says like sleep, encyclopedia, all that fun stuff. I did get these items from this really cute shop called Bookish Boutique, and they contacted me and kindly gifted me some things to wear, and I'm super excited because one, these shirts are super comfortable, especially the one in my last video, the orange one or the yellow one, but they also gave me some really cute tote bags and some other little goodies, and they kindly gave me a code to give to all of you guys. So if you're interested in picking up this shirt or the shirt in my last video, or just taking a look at anything else that they have, the link is down below, and then it also has the link to my coupon code also is down below as well. So if you guys were interested in my shirt or anything that I'm wearing, all of that will be listed down below. Thank you so much to my Bookish Boutique for sending me these things. I'm forever grateful, and this stuff is super comfortable, so you guys go out and check them out. So the first book that I would love to tell you guys about, it is The Lake of Dead Languages by Carol Goodman. So this book, I have read this book. This is probably one of my first mystery thriller books that I have read like ever. This is probably what got me started. So my sister actually had this book, and I just picked it up and I started reading it. But this book, it is about a woman named Jane Hudson, and she went to this prestigious like academy school. Now the school she went to, it was called the Heart Lake School for Girls. So as Jane is there learning her Latin, doing her thing, 3 girls that she's friends with actually commit suicide while they are there, and it was just an absolute tragedy for Jane. And it is 20 years later, she has fled the school. She doesn't want anything to do with it. The memories of what happened on those nights with her friends just traumatized her, but now she is back, and she's actually a teacher for Latin at this school. So now that Jane is teaching these young students about Latin, and she's trying to, you know, get her bearings. She has a daughter, she's going through a divorce, but now history is basically repeating itself, and it's not good history because some of Jane's students are actually dying in the same manner as her friends did. So she believes that there's somebody mocking these murders. This book was one of my favorite books that I have read, and for some reason all these years that book still stuck to me, and it's been years since I read that book. Years and years and years. I'm actually reading it again just so I can get a refresher, and I was just thinking, you know what, I'm rereading it again, like let me tell them about it. But The Lake of Dead Languages by Carol Goodman, that is such a good book. It is really it's not horror, but it's definitely mystery, thriller, just paranormal experiences going on in the book, and it was phenomenal. It was great. I highly recommend it. I don't think the book is in print anymore, but I got my copy off a thrift book, so I do not recommend going to Amazon because I think Amazon wants like 15 bucks for this book. It's a mass paperback. It's like 8 bucks. Go on thrift books and find the copy. I definitely recommend that book. So The Lake of Dead Languages, go ahead and try that one. The next book that I want to tell you guys about, it is a book that I recently read, and you guys know about it, and it is The Chestnut Man by Søren Sveistrup. So this book, it is about a serial killer in Copenhagen, Denmark. I believe it's Copenhagen, Denmark. Oh, I hope so, yes. And he is murdering women, and he's murdering them in the most brutal way possible, and he's leaving their bodies completely mutilated. And his calling card is a little chestnut man made out of matchsticks, twigs, and chestnut heads, and he makes faces out of them. But there's also another mystery where the prime minister's daughter, she actually went missing several years ago, and they presumed that she was dead. Her fingerprint is actually showing up on all of the chestnut dolls at these crime scenes. And now 2 detectives have to come together, separate their differences, and come together to figure out, what does the prime minister's daughter have to do with these murders? What is this connection? What is this guy's MO? And basically try to keep him from killing anybody else. Now this book was great. The way that it reads, it is a little bit difficult just because there is a lot of terminology, and there's just a lot of dialogue, and a lot of people can find it boring. But I promise you, if you kind of just get through the dialogue, it will really get back into the story, and then you'll start to get back into the groove of everything, and it just keeps on going. Trigger warning, there is a lot of sexual assault, domestic violence in this book, and it does go into detail for some of the assaults. That book was spooky, scary, and it even had me cringing on some of the details. I was just like, oh, Oh gosh, that is crazy. But The Chestnut Man by Soren Spaceship, if you really want to be creeped out, definitely pick that book up. The next book I want to tell you guys about, it is one of my favorite books ever, and it is The Family Upstairs by Lisa Jewell. So this book, there is a lot going on in this book. So this book, it is about a woman named Libby Jones. She's 25. She's kind of not really down on her luck, but she was adopted and she really wants to know about her family life. And come to find out, on her 25th birthday, she receives a inheritance letter that tells her that she has inherited her birth parents' estate, which is this big, beautiful mansion that's kind of dilapidated on the outskirts of London in like a really prestigious area. But as she is going around the house, she finds out her family history is not as great as it sounds. 16 years ago, the police were called to her parents' house to find a mass murder. Everybody in the house is deceased and they don't know what happened to anybody in the house. So the only surviving members of that massacre was Libby herself and then supposedly 3 other children that were in the house, but they have no idea where those children are. So Libby is technically the sole survivor of the massacre. This book, you can't make this stuff up. You can't make this stuff up. I mean, you can, it's fiction, but I loved how everything just tied together in this book. I can't really tell you guys without basically ruining the book, but even with the ending of this book, it just, you feel like there's something else that's gonna happen. Nothing else happens. I think that was just the end of the book, but at the end, you come to find out that crazy is still going. It's still going, and I can't, like, I just want to tell you guys so bad. I want to tell you guys so bad, but just read it. Read The Family Upstairs by Lisa Jewell, okay? So another family-based thriller mystery book that I want to tell you guys about, it is The Family Plot by Megan Collins. So this book, it is about a really eccentric family that was absolutely obsessed with true crime to where they literally named all of their kids after victims from true crime cases, like Dahlia from the Black Dahlia, Andrew from Andrew Borden, also like Tate from Sharon Tate. There's also Charles from the Charles Lindbergh kidnapping. It's just it's crazy. They all are named after basically victims. So this book, it is about a girl named Dahlia Lighthouse. She grew up with her family that is absolutely obsessed with true crime on this island called Lighthouse Island. But she's lived with her family on this island secluded. She was homeschooled by her true crime obsessed parents, and they had their own learning curriculum that was all about true crime. It's very interesting. Dahlia actually has a twin brother named Andy. Andy actually disappeared on the twins' 16th birthday, and Dahlia has been lost without her twin. She lost her twin brother, her best friend. He was her everything, and he just up and left without giving Dahlia any kind of notice, and she just moved off the island, wanted to forget about it, but she never stopped looking for her brother. It is some time later, her father passes away, and Dahlia comes back to the island with her family to mourn the loss of her father. As they are digging up the plot for her father, they find a body in the plot that was supposed to be for her father, and there's a skeleton with an axe in its head. The body in the plot, it is her twin brother Andy, and Dahlia is absolutely devastated. She doesn't want to believe it, so she takes it upon herself to solve the mystery of who really is in the plot and what happened to her twin brother when he disappeared 16 years ago. But as Dahlia is trying to figure out what happened to her brother, her family doesn't seem very forthcoming when it comes to information about Andy. They kind of just want her to forget about it, stop asking questions. He's gone now, we have to bury our father. Dahlia goes exploring the island, and she finds a lot of clues that are starting to point to a serial killer that was actually on the island, where several women have went missing and they never caught the killer, and Dahlia is starting to see some connections between her family and these missing women. This book definitely tests some family relationships, and it's just such an interesting spectacle because Dahlia knows something's up, but she's like, I really need to figure out what happened to my brother. I was here for it. I loved it. I think I gave it a 4 out of 5. But The Family Plot by Megan Collins, go ahead and pick that one up. The next book I want to tell you guys about, it is The Sundown Motel by Simone St. James. The book is told in 2 perspectives, and one, it is by a woman named Viv Delaney, and the other, it is by her niece named Carla, and the 2 start to go back and forth between time frames of telling what happened at this hotel. So Viv Delaney, she moves out from, I think she's going to New York, and she stops at this motel. She's down on her luck, she needs cash, and they're like, we'll let you live here as long as you work at this hotel. Viv's like, okay, cool, bet, let's do it. So as Viv is working at this hotel, she is coming across some very interesting characters, and one night Viv she disappears. Her car is still there, her purse is still there, everything is there. Viv is just gone. Now, fast forward, I think it's like 25 years later, Carly is her niece, and Carly has been obsessed with her aunt's disappearance since she was a child. She has just been so obsessed with her aunt, and she wants to know what happened. Now, Carly's mother, who was Viv's sister, she passes away unfortunately from cancer without knowing whatever happened to her sister. So Carly decides that she wants to just stop school. She wants to stop everything because she is seriously dedicated to finding out what happened to her aunt. Her brother, on the other hand, is like, don't even worry about it. We have our inheritance. Live your life, go to school, do your thing. Carly's like, no, 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 no. Like, I need to figure out what happened to my aunt. I need to know. So he's like, whatever, do your thing. So Carly goes down to the neighboring neighborhood where the Sundown Motel is, where her aunt went missing, and she decides to take up a job at the hotel as the same clerk, the night clerk, as her aunt. She wants to know what happened to her aunt. She wants to know the shift she worked, the people she came across, and she literally wants to basically live in her aunt's footsteps. But as she's working there, she's starting to realize that her aunt Viv was caught up in a lot more than she thought she was. Viv is going on this she has two separate things going on. She has some weird stuff going on at the hotel, her job, but then she's also witnessing what she believes to be a serial killer stalking his victims. This man that comes in, she never really sees his face, doesn't really know anything about him, but people are starting to go missing, and you know what I mean? You see where I'm going with it? Personally, my favorite person from this book was Viv. Viv was on her P's and Q's. She was on it, and she was not about to go down without a fight with the situation that was happening with her. I'm not going to spoil it, just read the book. But The Sundown Motel by Simone St. James, that one was a great book. Another awesome book that I think you guys should take a look at, it is going to be The Shadows by Alex North. So this book, it is about a man named Paul Adams, and Paul Adams is now a detective, and he grew up in this really small town where a very big tragedy happened. So the tragedy actually involved Paul and his friends. So there was a boy named Adam Crabtree, and Adam Crabtree was an interesting person where he always just was on the bit of the odd side. He was very obsessed with death, and you felt like he was one of those kids where he was capable of doing some damage, and that's exactly what he did. He actually murdered all of Paul's friends, and Paul was the only one that escaped the terrible, terrible tragedy that happened to his friends. Now Paul is an adult, and he has to go back to town because his mother's health is failing, and he doesn't want to leave her alone, so he has to go back to the town. But as he's going back, he finds out that there is a copycat basically copying Adam Crabtree's murders. And as he's helping his mother that is ailing, she's trying to tell him that something's going on in the house when he's not there. You know, things are just being a little bit weird, and Adam starts to believe that somebody is following him. And there's also something more scary about the tragedy. It's that Adam Crabtree was actually never seen again. So he was never caught. They never found him after the murders. They don't know where he went. And Paul believes that he is back and he's trying to finish the job. So this book, I'm not gonna lie, in the beginning I was just a little bit confused, but overall, you just start to see basically just the psyche of a person like Adam, and you really start to get into basically how it all started. You don't know what part of reality is, or if you don't know if like you're thinking about the past or if you're reading about the future, and you don't know what is actually really happening. Adam is start to have experiences again from dreams that he had as a child when this was happening. He is starting to lose his grip on reality. So that's another thing. But The Shadows by Alex North, that book was scary, and I definitely recommend that it be on your list. The next book that I want to tell you guys about, it is Her Final Words by Brianna Lebusks. I'm not sure, I'm sorry. This book, it is about two FBI detectives. One is the main character, and her name is Lucy Thorne. Lucy Thorne, like I said, she's an FBI detective, and one of the cases that is thrown on her desk is there is a girl that walks into the police station and she confesses to murdering a young boy, and the FBI is thinking that this is an open and closed case. She confessed to it, let's just move on with it. But Lucy is thinking that obviously there's more to it than that. She came in here for a reason, and the reason is she specifically asked for Lucy, but Lucy wants to know why. Why come in here and confess? Why murder the young boy? What was the motive? So Lucy finds out where this girl is from, and she goes to this small town where the girl comes from, and she is starting to unravel some stuff about the town. So this town is actually a very, very small town. It's secluded, very, very community based. Everybody is a family, everybody knows each other, but everybody also has everyone's secrets. You know how that goes with small towns. Now Lucy is more obsessed with this case than ever as she goes down to the town, and people are not willing to talk to her. Nobody's claiming this girl, and nobody is willing to say anything about what she's talking about but one person. Now I'm not going to say who that person is because they have a bigger role in this than anything, but you will find out when you read this book. It's just at the end of the book, everything makes sense, and it's just a domino effect of things happening to where it's just, it makes you sad because some things didn't have to happen, but they did have to happen in order for something else to, you know, fall into place. But I'm not going to say anything else about it. I'm not going to spoil this for you guys, but Her Final Words by Brianna Labuskis is one of the books that I want you guys to read. Now, the last book I want to tell you about, I haven't really seen a lot of people talk about this book, but when I read it, it was one of my favorite books of 2020, and it is Don't Tell a Soul by Kristen Miller. So this book, it is about a young girl named Bram, and Bram just wants to escape her old life. She doesn't want to go to, she's just trying to escape her school, her old friends, her whole life. She's just trying to escape from it. So her mother actually sends her to live with her Uncle James in Louth, which is some city outside of where she is, and her Uncle James is actually remodeling, revamping this old mansion that he's been living in. Now Bram and her uncle have a very, very close relationship. James is like a father to Bram. She really looks up to him, and she just respects him on all kinds of levels. But as Bram is starting to live with her uncle, she starts to see that James is haunted by his own ghost. Several months earlier, James's wife was killed in a fire set by her own daughter, or James's stepdaughter, and it destroyed the house, it destroyed James, and it left Bram's uncle as a shell of a man that she knew. He's just not the same anymore. He's just not as eccentric, not as happy. So Bram decides that she wants to just, you know, kind of cheer him up a little bit. As Bram is living in this house, she's starting to realize that the locals really don't like anybody new, and they also really don't like her uncle and the house, which is kind of weird. Bram's just like, okay, that's so random. But day by day, Bram is starting to see some of the ghosts that her uncle has been seeing, and she's starting to wonder if what she's seeing is actually ghosts or is it real. I personally loved that book. I thought it was great, and I thought it was a great addition to my mystery and thriller book read, so I thought it was going to be something that you guys would like to read as well. All right, you guys, that is it. That is all that I have for you guys in this video. Now I have a bunch more of mystery thriller recommendations that I would love to give you guys. Those are books that I really don't see many people talking about, that I really did want to put out there and show you guys, that are available for you guys to read, and something that, you know, isn't as popular, isn't as, you know, over, like, you guys know what I mean, where it's just like everybody is just like throwing that same book in your face. I decided to try to do something a little bit different, and I try to give you guys little different books here and there that are not as popular but still just as good, if not better, than some of the other books. If you guys like this video, please give me a thumbs up and leave me a comment down below. I do read all of your comments, and if you have any books that you want to recommend to me, let me know. And if you want any books for me to recommend to you, also let me know, because I love telling you guys about books that I'm reading. But that is all for this video, you guys. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you all in my next one. Bye.